holiday season is the perfect time to give and receive. In this December, partner with builders and remodelers and get great savings on any project, plus up to $500 in holiday groceries. And builders and remodelers will make a matching donation to Second Harvest Heartland. You can visit buildersandremodelers.com to help give this holiday season.
Do we know if Ant is playing tonight against Oklahoma City of Wolves hosting the defending champions? I don't think it's official. I've not seen any official designation.
The updated status report that came out about 4 hours ago, he's officially listed as questionable.
Yeah.
Along with Jalen Clark,
right,
who's sick. And Finchy will tell us in about an hour and a half.
I think the betting money is that he's going to play. I'll be more surprised if he. Now, obviously, if there's a setback or he's not ready, then you don't play him. But I think questionable is an upgrade from where he was. So I will be surprised if he doesn't play. It's the second game. Is this a national doubleheader tonight, or is it just a late game?
I think it's a triple header tonight.
Oh, is that right?
On Amazon, I believe. Let me pull up the schedule.
Amazon night, you say?
I'm pretty sure this is an Amazon one.
I need to know from our very erudite and sophisticated audience, and this doesn't include fallness.
It's a doubleheader. Philly, New York is the first game, and then us on Amazon Prime.
So if you have those in our audience who've watched a decent, this is maybe a steady diet, or at least enough of the games that have taken place on Amazon or Peacock, to tell me what you think of the broadcast. Not so much whether the games you happen to watch were good or ended up being good or bad or whatever. Do you like the broadcast? Does it feel different because it's just a different network and different people? Or does it feel different because the approach seems different to analysis, to pregame, to halftime, to postgame? I said early that I thought the departure was pretty significant. And that doesn't mean I necessarily loved every one of the broadcasters, but I felt like it was almost as if there was a concerted effort to say, we're going to go at this quite differently. We're going to be less concerned about creating debate and or fire and brimstone on a regular basis. And we're just going to talk basketball. We're going to analyze. We're going to look at this from an adult perspective. Because I don't know. I know what the early reviews were, but I haven't paid attention late. And I haven't watched that many games lately, period.
Nor have I, yeah, at the national level.
The question. I do think some of the reason it feels refreshing is simply because it's people we're not accustomed to seeing year after year, day after day, month after month, decade after decade. And, imitation, it's the sincerest form of flattery, but it also breeds contempt. And so sometimes we just get tired of, oh, God, the same people over and over again. I'm kind of curious to hear what people think. Meantime, it's time for KFAN to take a big swing, speaking of big swings, and sign Gerbschmidt to a huge contract extension. They want a contract extension on Gerby. Now, was it last week or the week before? I retweeted 2 consecutive tweets. One basically saying, I'm sick of him.
Yep.
Stop having him on. It's over. It was a good run, but it's over. And then the next person basically found the Gerbschmidt appearances as a religious experience. And don't you dare ever stop having Carl Gerbschmidt on. Just to give you the range. And I didn't want to just retweet the one that made us look good.
Right.
I was saying, okay, I'll throw it out. Both extremes, I guess you could say, it back out there.
As Gerby said, Paul Allen was described. He's polarizing. Gerby at times is polarizing.
That's true.
I think rapping Gerby should be pretty universally liked because that was unbelievable. Rapping Gerby.
That was I didn't, and like you said, that was wasn't anything that in the pre-production meeting we talked about with Carl.
No, I believe that he got third place in that Western Wisconsin rap battle contest all those years ago.
I would like to know about first and second.
I would too. I would too.
From that perspective.
I'm looking forward to this article too in the Star Tribune.
I can't wait.
I don't even know.
He breaks the story that Jim Beam, actually John Bream, called him up, asked for an interview, and apparently Gerby granted an interview with longtime rock critic at the Star Tribune, John Bream.
I'm still trying to figure out the hook or the angle exactly. So that's got most of my curiosity.
My assumption is he said he talked to him within the last day or two, right? So I'm assuming over the weekend, but I don't know. The way the Star Tribune drops stories now in the internet age it's hard to follow what the thread of logic is, if there is any logic. So but my guess it'll be sometime over the weekend
or next week leading into the concert.
How about photos? Did Jim Beam ask for any photos?
I don't know that. I don't think that was established.
I just spilled coffee on me. That's just great.
Be careful. Keep it away from the equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, better on me, I guess, than the equipment, right?
Those are new cameras. We've got new microphones within the last couple of years.
Yeah, well.
A lot of investments here. Be careful.
Are we done with the studio investment? Or are we going to something else there? What's the latest? Do we know?
You mean, like, why isn't that wall been finished?
Yeah, that wall. I mean, the unfinished wall. It seems like we just hit like I feel pause? Like we hit, like a, it's a long pause now.
Well, you've had people work on your houses before, right?
Well, yeah.
You start a project,
hit and miss, yeah.
Sometimes they don't get back to it.
Yeah, very, very true, Davey. We got Ben Goessling at the bottom of the hour. Let's get in a little more depth about Wolves, Okie City tonight. Right now I think the interest in the Wolves is going to be solid because they're coming off 2 straight Final Four appearances. So I'm not saying it's evaporating, but I feel like it's kind of light right now. I think people are kind of like, I watch because that's what I do, and I happen to like pro basketball. But I don't want to turn this into a competition between the Wild and the Wolves. No question, right now the Wild are more with it than WoW because it's newer. But the Wild have not yet come close to accomplishing what the Wolves did the last 2 postseasons. So we'll get into a little bit of that, of expectations for the Wolves and Thunder game tonight, and then prepare to chat with Goessling about 4:30.
Hockey fans, the IIHF World Junior Championship is set to take over the state of hockey, and we've got your tickets to the action all week long. You can use the talkback feature in the iHeartRadio app. Tell us your favorite Team USA memory from the World Juniors. That is your shot at a pair of tickets to a Group A game. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword contests.
In thinking that the new NBA broadcast partners, there's a greater emphasis on ex-players than there are on broadcast people. A la Stephen A. Smith, for example. Not to just pick him, but
in terms of their panels?
In terms of their panels, and because they do have traffic cops still, but I feel like they're in a very limited role, and it's sort of like let's just let the players. Who's the former Clipper?
Blake Griffin.
Griffin. I think he's really good.
Yeah, he's good.
I like him a lot. I think I don't know how many games he does as opposed to studio or what the breakdown is. Nowitzki is involved in some of this as well.
Yep, Steve Nash.
How has the experiment gone? Is it? I think. Just Peacock is doing this thing where on a given game, the sidekick, the analyst, the color analyst, sits on the bench, not next to play-by-play guy or gal. Any word on, that sounds a bit gimmicky to me. Do you get something extra being on the bench other than saying you're on the bench? Is it as easy to be as honest?
Right.
If you're on the bench and you're ripping strategy from that team, does that get a little bit uncomfortable? These are the questions I need answers to. Bradshaw and Brian, KFAN text line, 64686. I also want to know if you're on your way to Wolves, Oklahoma City tonight on the Fan. It's a late start tonight. We are the second game of the, what did you tell me? This was
Prime Video.
Amazon double header, with the first game being the Knicks and the Sixers.
Yes.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Knicks, who just, of course, won the Cup. In fact, did they? I thought they just played somebody else since then already. What night was the Cup title round? Tuesday?
Cup? Yeah. No.
Monday? Maybe it was Monday.
I think it was Wednesday.
Oh,
I think the
thought
Cup
they already
was
played
Wednesday.
another game.
They may have. I'll pull up their schedule
In
here.
any case, there'd be a lot of games in a row if that's true.
Because it's the Cup.
Because it's the Cup, I guess that might answer it. It's like, I think a lot of people are looking at this, okay, well, here's the opportunity for the Wolves to sort of reestablish themselves as one of the threats again in the Western Conference. I'm not sure you do that with any single game this early in the season, but I guess you do have to start somewhere.
You got to get on the board somewhere.
If you want to sort of get the feeling even within the room that we're heading towards something. You mentioned this yesterday. I like a lot of people, I love Finchie's honesty, but there is occasionally that desire to push back when he's like, well, I don't know what we're doing. The offense was awful. We made bad decisions a whole bit. That it is, he didn't just get here 5 minutes ago. It is his team. And so I don't know how many times you can go to the well with that. And the subject came up. We've talked about it before. The subject came up after the Memphis game that this was another one of those occasions when Finchie needed to call more plays. And he doesn't, he's loath to calling plays. He's freewheeling guy, free rhythm guy. He doesn't want to.
Likes the word flow.
He does like the word flow. We all like flow, but I'm still not sure you can trust some of the players in this flow enough. And if it's once again, isn't your responsibility if it's going that bad to say, we're structuring it up for a while. For the next 5 minutes, I'm going to call a decent number of plays. I don't know what the answer is to that, but it's at least, part of the difficulty in evaluating the Wolves is their record. What are we? Are we still in the 6th spot or have we slipped to 7?
Let's pull up the standings. Yeah, we're pretty clear of Phoenix for 7. I think we're 3 games ahead of Phoenix. I'm going to pull it up here right now. So we're pretty solid there. We're 2 games ahead of Phoenix right now, 17-10. We are in the 6th spot. They're in the 7th. We're a half game behind the Rockets for 5.
Okay. Some of the ennui regarding this team this year is they have not played a lot of good teams. And that's not their fault, but it does, I think, contribute to a feeling of, we're kind of just meandering. And maybe you feel better about where this is headed if you've had a steadier diet of games against better teams and you've held your own. You've won some of those. Perhaps you've lost some of those. Somebody had the stat. We beat Golden State. They had a winning record, I think, when we beat them. They're basically playing 500 ball, aren't they?
They are, yep.
So beyond that, have we beaten a team with a winning record?
Man.
I'm not sure. Not a bunch. Now, we haven't played a bunch either, I don't think, but we haven't. So we'll see if this kind of gets the thing jump-started. Is there any chance that tonight...
Beat the Celtics. I assume they have a winning record.
They do. I think that's true.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, go ahead.
Is there any chance that tonight KG will make his first appearance at Target Center and they will make a big announcement? Because I don't think you can rule that out as part of, okay, we're reintroducing him. Not going to be a big ceremony tonight.
Right.
But he's back. He's in the house tonight. Let's see if we get a little lift. We got Oklahoma City here.
It'd be a great time to do it.
It would be a tremendous time to do it.
Yeah.
You're the guy who told me he's been in town for like a month.
Well, no, I heard he was in town the day before they made the announcement. I don't know if he's still in town. I don't know that.
Interesting text from Laval, who will join us at 5:30. Flo, I think Dillingham needs pure progression. He might be right. I've told you this before. I'm in the minority on Dillingham. I think in the short run, you just stop even pretending that you want him to really, run the offense. I just say, go out there and for like 10 minutes, go out and just be as selfish as you want. Take a bunch of shots off the bench because we don't really have much scoring going on off the bench right now. I don't know. Worse things have been tried, right? How much worse could it be than it is now?
I know.
But I don't think Finchie will go along with that because he still has easily the worst body language with any player that I've ever seen with Dillingham when he screws up. There's not, and I'm not saying he doesn't have a right to be mad at Dillingham sometimes. All I'm saying is, in terms of showing his disdain, he doesn't hide it ever with Dillingham, ever.
Which frustrates me because they've got 30-year-olds making stupid mistakes at times, taking bad shots.
100%.
Now, in fairness, Finchie is bad body language for them, too, when that happens.
Yes.
Finchie's body language hasn't been very good this year. Like, I joked about the New Orleans game. He looked like he wanted to just go out and grab one of those Mississippi River boats and just ride off into the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes, right.
Because his team was just completely messing around those 2 nights. They won both games, and pretty authoritatively when all was said and done. But that's what always bothers me about the young players, that they seem to get no
slack.
And they have no equity.
Yeah.
I know that's part of it, but we'll also have a lot of guys that are out to lunch sometimes where I'd have a much shorter
veteran
leash.
guys. Right.
Yes.
Very true.
Yes.
All right. So we got a lot of good texts coming in from people who have watched a decent amount on Amazon and Peacock. We'll save those for a little bit later in the broadcast because we got Ben Goessling coming up next. Lavelle will join at 5:30 as well. At the risk of losing some listeners, man, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, it's hot right now. With about 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, NC State 31, Memphis 7. Is that an upset?
No, not really.
I had no.
Wild fans, this could be your season. Experience the energy, the goals, the unforgettable moments at Grand Casino Arena. Get your tickets now, including to Wild and Predators next Tuesday, the 23rd, at wild.com/tickets to cheer on the Wild this season.
Thank you, Kevin Falness. Ben Goessling with us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline on this rather chilly Friday evening in the Twin Cities, although my sources say that Ben Goessling has already made the trip east to the Big Apple, to the greater New York area, maybe happen to bring along a couple of family members as well. It's funny that I was reminded of that because earlier today, I am watching CNN, the morning show, and they are, I can't remember who it's one of their law enforcement reporters who's really very good covering, analyzing stories like the Brown University story. And this is a lighter piece where he kind of tours various New York stops for the holiday season. And ultimately, the final stop they make is Macy's. Do you know the answer to this question, or might you learn it over the course of your weekend sojourn to New York? Is the New York Macy's still what we associate with Macy's in a way that, let's be honest, we don't anymore, wherever Macy's is around the country, including here or in Chicago, where it's just not as fancy, it's not as hot, it just doesn't seem to be as important and as cool. But is that Macy's, does that hold on to the ongoing Macy's traditions as far as you know?
I think it does. I was here with my older daughter about 3 years ago, and it was still pretty decked out. I think that was in the spring, so it was during the middle of a flower show. But yes, I think in terms of like the old school department store, that's kind of the central gathering spot where everybody comes for big events, not just to buy things. I think that one has more of that than you find in most places. Obviously, the downtown department store has largely gone away in a lot of cities, whether it's Dayton's in the Twin Cities or, any of the other ones, probably Sears and Marshall Field's in Chicago and obviously a lot of them in New York. I don't think it's quite as big of a thing in a general concept, but I think this one still holds a lot of that together. And it'll be fun to see it. I haven't been here at Christmas time in a long time. My kids have not been here at Christmas time. So they just found out this morning.
Nice surprise.
That, big surprise this morning. Hey, you're not going to school. We're going to New York in a couple hours. So, yeah, figured the game being over Christmas or being near Christmas in New York, it's like, when is this going to ever happen again? So let's pounce on it while we can.
It's a great opportunity, good, very forward thinking. And, let's face it, the game doesn't mean that much at this point. So why? But you still have to go. So why not take this opportunity to get to New York and with the whole family? Before we talk purple and the Darisaw news, not particularly surprising at this point, I want to get your reaction to the Rams-Seahawks game last night. A terrific game between two teams, I think, that both entered the game with 11-3 records. And it goes into OT. And there's a lot of discussion about ultimately the Seattle decision, they have to, for those who did not watch, the Rams get the ball first in OT. They not only score, they score a touchdown and an extra point. They're up 7. By definition, that means Seattle can't settle for a field goal. They have to score a touchdown. They choose, and they get it. They choose to go for 2, and they get it. Darnold with a good throw and showing good patience to let the play develop. And that's it. Game's over. They win the thing. And a couple people have speculated that, is it going to be long before a team or two decides, if they get the ball first, to score and go for 2 to really set the tone and put the pressure on the other team? I'm assuming that's inevitable as well.
I think you'll see it. I mean, I could see the argument for it, saying now you've created essentially 2 gates that an opponent would have to clear if they were to come back, get the ball, and have a chance to put a drive together. And there's obviously the risk of, what if we don't convert, then they win the game on an extra point. I think to that, I would say, if you want to go do it and you're feeling good about your defense, then you take the chance, because if your defense gives up a touchdown at that point anyway, it's like, well, the extra point is kind of academic. And I think the idea of, well, if we can hold them to a tie game and come back and score again, I think a lot of times, especially in an overtime setting where it is only 10 minutes long, the clock is not always in your favor to do that. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we see somebody decide to be a little more aggressive there and say, let's just go for 2 right off the bat. And then even if you score, we have one more chance to stop you. And if we do, that's the game. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see one of the more analytically inclined coaches give that a chance at some point.
So how should the average Vikings fan look at Darnold's performance last night? Because he had a couple of big blunders. He did get the help, I think, in the second half comeback of a return for a touchdown, I think.
Yep.
And yet he also down the stretch made some important throws as well. So what's the conclusion on Sam after that game against the Rams?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of both of those 2 extremes, because we did see him make some mistakes early against a team that has absolutely owned him, whether it's been with the Vikings or since he's been in Seattle this year. I think even going back maybe to a couple times he played them previously before he come to Minnesota, he had lost to them as well. So he had some of those moments early in that game that he looked like it was going to be another one of those nights. I mean, but that game is 16 points. They're down 16 points in, I think, the fourth quarter. And yes, you get the punt return. It makes things a little easier to get the comeback done. But he made a couple of throws at the end of that game that they had to have it, and he was nails. I mean, that's not something we've seen from a guy who has received quite a bit of criticism, justifiably so, for his failures in big games. And I think the fact that he made the throws that he did, including kind of working through his reads on a 2-point conversion and then finding the tight end in the middle, kind of in the soft part of that zone, he gave them everything they needed down the stretch. And it was not perfect by any means, and it was a lot of the things we've seen him do. But for him to come back and reassert himself in a game they had to have against that team, I think it's a big moment for him. And it puts them in a position where, if they're the number 1 seed, we've seen this over the years, but good luck to people coming into that building if that is a team that has a chance to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. So I think for the payoff that he got and the stakes of the moment, I think it's a pretty big, notch in his belt, so to speak.
Stafford had, was it almost 500 yards passing?
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
I do look at him now. And so who had said that? I think it was Sean Salisbury had said this yesterday, that in some ways he might be throwing the ball about as well as he ever has. And in this case with something at stake, because he had some good years with Detroit where they really weren't playing for anything. But he's playing, with something on the line. And yesterday, I mean, he ultimately, obviously, they didn't get the thing done, but he made some. He is the guy who now looks to me like he can make literally every throw that would, I'm assuming, make a guy like KOC salivate.
Yeah, well, yes. I think, KOC obviously has a ring in large part because of Matthew Stafford. Yep. And the interesting thing with that is they obviously had Jared Goff when Sean McVay was there and when Kevin O'Connell got there. And they make the decision to move on from Jared Goff, as I understand it, in part because of the game against the Dolphins in 2020, where it's Brian Flores and Andrew Van Ginkel had a touchdown in that game, and that game had a lot to do with the Rams deciding we need to go a different direction. We need to kind of make the move here. So obviously they make the trade for Matthew Stafford to win the Super Bowl after that. I mean, we saw a lot of years in Detroit where, when he gets hit in the ribs last night, I'm thinking, man, how many times have I seen this happen against the Vikings over the years, where he was just getting beat up before they put the investments into that line that the Lions did. But yeah, I mean, the no-look pass to Kupp was fantastic. We've seen him do some of that before. And he makes a lot of throws that you want a quarterback to be able to deliver in that spot where he can elevate, and it's going to be tight. The coverage is going to be tight. There's going to be timing that has to be right on. He is as good at that part of the game, I think, as anybody in the NFL at this point. And his career arc is going to be very interesting because he was kind of this sad sack of, he got picked number one to a horrible team and he's just getting beat up. And if he wins a second Super Bowl, it's like, are we having a Hall of Fame conversation about Matthew Stafford? I mean, it will be interesting to see how all of that shakes out. But I think you could make the argument for that as he gets towards the end, because I think they have as good a chance as anybody, even if they're going on the road. I think that team with Stafford, the weapons he has, especially once Devontae Adams gets healthy, and that defense, they are a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. A lot of those teams are coming out of the NFC West, so it's very similar to the NFC North last year. But yeah, he is. I think he's been tremendous. I think when the Vikings looked at Drake May and loved him, I think some of the comparisons you could make there is he looks like Matthew Stafford. So a lot of the things that he does well, yes, I think Kevin O'Connell would look at it and say, yeah, I want a quarterback that can make a lot of those throws that I see Matthew Stafford making pretty regularly at this point. Standard
Heating and Air Conditioning is the sponsor of Ben Goessling's appearances on this program and on the project as well. The news becomes official today via the head coach, KOC, that Christian Darrisaw will be shut down for the rest of the season, put on the injured reserve list. I had said yesterday I thought this was pretty much inevitable. I was stunned that they hadn't already done it. I think the question on the table is whether they did it out of protection in his case or out of frustration with how this season has progressed, the stops and starts associated with Darrisaw. What do you think?
Well, I would say this. I don't think they did it because there was anything new that medically raised their level of concern. I don't think there was a setback. I don't think there was an aggravation. I think it was a lot of, kind of what you mentioned there, where there is this back and forth all season of there's still some swelling in his knee. There's still kind of getting back to the point where, does he trust it? Does he feel like he can go about things the way he normally has? And I think it took him a while to get to a point where he was comfortable with it, and obviously never really did. So, yeah, I think there's probably some frustration there. And it's one of those things that I think as they looked at it, and we've gone into this thing now where he hadn't practiced Wednesday, Thursday the last couple of weeks, and you're kind of going off of, well, he's limited on a Friday. Can you count on that for a game? I think there was a thought process of let's kind of hit the reset button here. He can let this thing completely calm down. I mean, you heard Kevin O'Connell say it today. It's my belief that this won't go into next season. And I think there's probably a little bit of a subtext there of we need to assume this has been nipped in the bud now. Like, he is going to be done for the last 3 games. He can start the rehab early. There's no further stress being placed on his knee. And then the Vikings can also go about these games not doing the will he or won't he thing, where it's going to be Justin School at left tackle, even if there's drawbacks to that. And the fact that it's not Christian Darrisaw, you're not trying to play this guessing game late into a week. So I think that's a lot of what goes into it. But yeah, I think it was a trying situation for a lot of people because you go through training camp, I think, excited about where he's at and saying he's not on the pump, he could be ready to go. But in retrospect, there was a lot of optimism about his trajectory for the season that didn't pan out. And I think, there's certainly some tension that gets related to that. And I think a lot of this decision was, let's kind of level set here and get everybody back to the point where this is not part of the conversation next year.
Do we have any sense at all on how coveted as head coaching material Brian Flores will be after this season? To me, it's one of the open questions about the future of this team and the direction they go defensively. And, I'm assuming there's going to be some jobs that open up. I don't know how many. There's usually several. But, we're still, I don't think, have his case completely settled. I always wonder whether that gives some teams pause that might be interested in him, or is he viewed less of a hot commodity just because that's the way it goes? The team isn't going to make the postseason, and those are the guys who, whether it's fair or not or right or not, end up getting more attention. So where's B-Flow as a head coaching candidate?
It's going to be very interesting because my understanding is that his contract is up after this year, and I don't believe there's been anything that's changed that. So that means he will have the opportunity to shop around both as a head coach and possibly as a coordinator. It's very possible he's back here as well, but I think there's a thought process of, if I have the opportunity to kind of see what my market is, this is as good a chance as any to do it. So, he had 3 interviews last year, and I think felt pretty good about how those went. But what does his candidacy look like this year, I think, will hinge on, is somebody looking for a coach that has quarterback experience more so than he does? I mean, the stuff with Tua Tagovailoa will come up in any interview. I'm sure it did last year as well. And how does he fit as the guy that's leading your culture in your building when the head coach has to be involved in every department of it? I mean, I think that would be the thing that people would have to feel really good about that. And, that's for any head coaching candidate. You have to feel good about how does he interact with every facet of your organization, and is this the guy you want leading it? So, I mean, I think a lot of the questions he will get will revolve around those things. And I'm sure he'll have interviews because, I mean, they are not going to make the playoffs, but the fact that they've been competitive, I think, has a lot to do with how they've played defensively, given the fact that their offense hasn't been as effective as it's typically been. And that defense has been put in a lot of situations where, hey, we need another stop. We went 3 and out, and you got to come through. And that defense has kept them in a lot of games. I think the way they've gone about it, not with a ton of depth in the secondary and having to manage some injuries in the front seven, has been a credit to the way he's gone about it. I think it will just hinge on kind of what he wants his next phase to look like, and how the Vikings factor into that, and, how do teams feel about him as a possible candidate. There's going to be a lot of questions that probably stretch beyond just the job he's done as the defensive coordinator this year.
So we've got 3 people shut down now, right? Grenard, who was due to have surgery. I don't know if he already had it or not, on his shoulder, I believe. Metellus is out, correct?
Yep.
Now he's shut down, and Darisaw. Not that, as we said, the result matters all of that much, but how much impact does it have in terms of your own thinking regarding Vikings-Giants on Sunday?
Well, I think it goes back again to J.J. McCarthy. I mean, there's this continued question of how much progress can you see from this quarterback? I mean, 2 weeks, they've won in a row now, and he's played better. I mean, it's certainly not been something that he's let the world on fire. There's still some throws he's missed, but I thought they were more willing to put a few things on his plate, put a few things on his back in Dallas than they've been most of the year. I'm curious to see if that continues. I think this is a team they should beat. I mean, that front seven the Giants have is awfully talented. It has not been as productive as you would expect it to be with given the people they have, and that secondary is there for the taking if they can protect J.J. McCarthy. So I think it's a game they should win. I think it's a game that they will get after Jackson Dart, even if they're missing Jonathan Grenard. I think they'll have ways to pressure him. So ultimately, if they win it or not probably isn't that big of a deal, but continuing to see progress from J.J. McCarthy, I think, is important. And if they see that progress, I think they win the game. So all of this kind of works together. But to me, these last 3 are all about the quarterback, and what kind of consistency he continues to show has a lot to do with how this offseason plays out. So I think that is continually if you want to chart it as a win or a loss, in some ways, the win becomes, hey, we saw a little more from our quarterback that we can build on. I think that becomes the biggest factor in these last 3.
Speaking of consistency, we were chatting about this at the top of the program. We tried to do the research on air as we were talking about it. I think we got it right, but you would probably be more knowledgeable on it, maybe even off the top of your head. But we noted that how often, or I should say, how rarely in the last 25 years, really never since what do we say, Guardsy, 2008 and 09?
9 and 10.
9 and 10, I should say. Have the Vikings...
Actually, 8 and 9,
8 and
you're
9,
right.
yeah, because 10, the playoff games are played the next year. The 8 and 9 seasons, that's the last time the Vikings have made the playoffs 2 straight years. And correct. I get the league, there's a lot of teams that tend to be up and down, but then you look at a select number of teams that get there pretty routinely, or they get there 4 years out of 5, or whatever. This team has really had, and it's probably directly related to the quarterback position, this team has just had none of that consistency that we like to associate with, hey, we're cutting edge, we're on top of it, we're right there, and yet we're sitting here again knowing they're mathematically eliminated. Once again, they're not going to make the playoffs, even as little as 2 straight seasons, let alone actually making a run.
Yeah, I mean, it is remarkable that it's taken that long, and I think it is 100% connected to the quarterback. So if we go through it, 8 and 9, obviously they go to the NFC title game, and then Favre comes back for 10. Pieces are in place. We should be pretty good, and that season goes off the rails very quickly in any number of ways, including the Metrodome collapsing. So you go from there to 2012. They make the playoffs, kind of the surprise year with Christian Ponder, with Adrian Peterson has the MVP year. The next year is the disaster with Ponder, and then Matt Castle plays some, and Josh Freeman plays the one game, and they end up losing, and the coaches get fired. 15, they win the division. The next year, Teddy Bridgewater's knee
that's true. Yeah.
basically spontaneously combusts on the practice field, so they miss the playoffs that year. You go to 17, okay, they go to the NFC title game, but then there's a quarterback change after that year, and the first year with Cousins doesn't go the way they wanted to. 19, they go to the playoffs, they win a game. 20, that one is not tied to a quarterback change where they don't go to the playoffs after 2019. Obviously, Cousins comes back. That's probably more the defense falling apart at that point, but a lot of these years, including 24 to 25, Darnold takes out of the playoffs, and then there's a quarterback change. So it's 22 into 23. Cousins is there, but then Cousins gets hurt. So it has been, in almost all of those cases, some level of quarterback turnover that I think has prevented them from doing it. Because the teams that you see that get there routinely, it's been the Bills lately. It's been the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. It's been the Chiefs, obviously, with Patrick Mahomes. A lot of those teams are consistently factors because they have consistency at the quarterback position. They know they're going to have a chance every single week because of the guy they have playing the most important position in sports. And I think that's a lot of why this becomes, when we talk about McCarthy, consistency so important, because you have to have some level of reliability at that position to go into a season or a game or a stretch of games saying we have a chance to be competitive and make a run with this thing. And there's a lot to be figured out with J.J. McCarthy in that sense yet. But the reason they have wanted to invest in a quarterback is they want to have that position settled, which it really has not been. We're doing our all-quarter century team next week. Mark Craig, Andrew Kramer, and I all picked those teams, and we all picked a different quarterback for the last 25 years because there just hasn't been that kind of consistency. It just speaks to the level of up and down this team has had, and I think getting that quarterback position fixed really for the first time since Fran Tarkenton is the only way that you get out of this up and down in the playoffs, out of the playoffs thing they continue to do.
Have fun in the Big Apple and thereabouts, and we'll actually probably won't chat next week because I'm off. And Merry Christmas to you and yours, and we'll chat soon.
Sounds good, Dan. Merry Christmas to your family as well, and we'll look forward to chatting soon.
Sounds good. That is Ben Goessling, brought to you by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Lavelle is scheduled to join in about a half hour. Looks like it's now final at the what do we call it? Is it the Sarsaparilla Bowl? No. The Gasparilla Bowl, whatever it's called. I think Memphis got edged by, was it, I don't even remember, was it NC State? Does it even really matter who it was? It doesn't. It makes no difference. There is a meaningful college football game coming up later tonight, which might be a part of the top 5 at 5. I know Guardsy will give us wild results from yesterday, preview Minnesota Timberwolves results, or what might be coming tonight against the defending NBA champion club. And there's apparently some rumors, some speculation that the National Basketball Association might be mulling over some changes to the draft lottery system to attempt to discourage, quote-unquote, tanking. So that could be on the agenda. Who played in that game? Who won that game? I was just watching the Sarsaparilla Bowl.
The Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa Bay?
Gasparilla Bowl, yeah.
North Carolina State
beat Memphis. Yeah, 31-7.
Memphis's coach, their old coach, is at Arkansas right now.
Oh, that's right.
Memphis still decided to play the game.
Part of the change.
So, yeah, it's bowl season. You never know.
Some wild stuff, I'm assuming, some Wolves stuff, and Vikings injury report.
You nailed all of it. I have nothing else to add.